I'm delighted to be here with you, and I believe this is a very important conference, and I would like to welcome everybody, and indeed thank you for, as I say, the invitation to be here. So really, I suppose we here in Ireland take great pride in producing some of probably the best food and drink in the world, and producing it sustainably. Sustainability has a big resonance in Ireland, or indeed for Ireland, particularly because of our own particular food history. Globally, the sustainability challenge is huge. The world population set to increase by 2 billion by 2050, with food demand increasing by 60% at a time of climate change. There are huge challenges ahead. We have no choice but to act together to safeguard the next generation, indeed generations to come. Ireland has been ahead of the game. We understand that agri-food businesses need to be at the forefront of the sustainability agenda to ensure the future of their customer base and their resources. Last year saw the launch of the Origin Green at the Great Trade Fair at Sail in Paris by An Taoiseach. Irish food companies were asked to sign up to this Bord Bia sustainability initiative, which sees food and drink manufacturers develop a sustainable plan that sets out clear targets in key areas such as emission, energy, waste, water, biodiversity, and corporate social responsibility activities. Food security is a real issue for millions of people in the world today. Food security matters to Ireland not alone in terms of our past, but in terms of our future. Globally, countries recognise that food security is a crucial issue. They need to plan for and source their food supplies reliably but equally sustainably. We here in Ireland can provide the solutions they are seeking through Origin Green. I know that Aidan Carter, the Chief Executive of Bord Bia, is one of your speakers here this afternoon. Indeed, he will be expanding on what Origin Green can do, and I won't be doing anything about that, and let him explain to you more in detail. One of the shining lights of Ireland's continued recovery has been the agri-food sector. Right around this country, as I travel up and down, I see examples of people determined to change the industry and move with the opportunities that are there. Our food industry is Ireland's largest indigenous manufacturing sector. It accounts for over 10% of exports, 8% of GDP, and employs 160,000 people, and that's a huge, huge number of people. The agri-food sector has been a national leader in growing exports. After reaching new record heights last year, I'm confident that more jobs and investment can be made in the sector as Ireland recovers out of the difficulty which our country has faced. Only in the last 3 months, 3 Irish food companies, namely O'Brien's Fine Food, Green Farm Foods and Swift Fine Foods, announced new jobs to meet growth. And that is, I suppose, one of the huge opportunities and indeed one of the huge areas that we have got to expand in as the years go by to meet the unemployment situation, to meet the hundreds of thousands of young people that have left our shores, to get them to come back here. People have left here and have gone to faraway places, Australia, America, England, wherever. And so we need them to come back to get involved in the food industry, get involved in our agricultural industry, and there's huge opportunities, I believe, for what we are doing here. And I would say as well as that they are responding to it at farm level. One of the first visits that I made after becoming Junior Minister of Agriculture was to go to the Dairy Institute, Research Institute in Moorpark. There I saw the enthusiasm of so many young people that are anxious to get involved, particularly in the dairy industry. And I think that there's where real opportunities exist for employment, particularly, as I say, the younger people. Environmental sustainability will be an essential requirement for food production in the decades ahead. Producing more food while at the same time combating climate change is one of the most important policy challenges that we face both nationally and internationally. There is never growing need for increasing food security to combat global poverty, to meet the increasing and changing demands of an expanding world population and combat the impacts of climate change. I believe that Ireland's agricultural output should be viewed as a vital food security resource for Europe in the decades ahead, rather than a source of greenhouse gas emission in isolation. This is particularly important when one considers that one of the fundamental aims of the United Nations process is to counter greenhouse gas emissions without impacting negatively on food production capacity to feed the growing global population. My department continues to stress the need to combat climate changes, mitigation ambition with a competitive and carbon-efficient farming system. The key underlying themes to the agriculture food harvest 2020 strategy are smart, green growth. All actors in the Irish agri-food industry understand the importance of sustainability in increasing production. Food Harvest 2020 identifies the opportunity for a dynamic, forward-looking agri-food industry, and my department is supporting the industry to make the most productive use of Ireland's rich and natural resources. Ireland is somewhat unique in that greenhouse gas emissions associated with our agricultural sector as a proportion of our overall national emissions are significantly higher than the EU average of 9%. In Ireland, the agricultural sector accounted for 32% of Ireland's total emission in 2011. This clearly demonstrates the contrast between Ireland and most other developed countries, where a higher proportion of economic wealth is generated from heavy industry and less from agriculture. In an international context, New Zealand is the only other developed country with a proportion of its emissions from agriculture that is higher than Ireland. The European Commission Joint Research Centre has found that the Irish dairy production has the joint lowest carbon footprint in the EU. The footprint of Irish beef is also below the EU average. The United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization has also found that the temperate grassland production system, which is a predominant system of production in Ireland, is one of the most efficient in the world. Smart green growth is the basis for progressive, sustainable expansion in the agri-food sector out to and beyond 2010. This will be achieved through increasing efficiency, higher productivity, and competitiveness in our sectors, and also on the processing side in the case of food and drink production. A joined-up approach which features sustainable growth allied to a smarter green agricultural system is the key to continued expansion of the sector. We will continue to invest in advisory services to ensure knowledge transfers and dissemination of information from researchers to farmers and upwards in the supply chain. Teagasc has a crucial role to play here. We have also seen great progress being made with Bord Bia's Quality Assurance Scheme. Farmers are buying into the notion that lower carbon intensity brings with it higher profitability. Ireland must be recognised as a world leader in sustainable and carbon-efficient food production through utilising existing best practices and further developing high-efficiency farm practices and models. We are faced with the challenge of limiting greenhouse gas emission, and this is a high priority here in Ireland. We must work to ensure that the ambitious targets for green growth in Food Harvest 2020 can be met while also achieving our greenhouse gas emission targets. Only through research and innovative ways of producing food can we reduce emission from our animal production system with increasing output. In the horticultural sector, the background conditions for food production are constantly changing. Growers and fruit producers have to react proactively to meet these changes by constantly aiming to meet public policies and consumers' expectations. Change is the only constant. The farm gate value of Irish horticulture productions, including potatoes and immediate plants, is 400 million per annum. This sector is labour intensive, accounting directly and indirectly for an estimated 18,500 jobs nationally. Ireland's mushroom industry accounts for over a quarter of the value of all horticultural production. The mushroom industry is an example of a sector that has undergone significant change over the past 10 years. 10 years ago, there were over 500 mushroom producers in Ireland. Today, there are less than 80. However, the overall volume and value of production has increased significantly over this period. While some may bemoan the reduction in growers' numbers, the industry increasing scale has facilitated improvements in technical efficiency combined with significant reduction in plastics and pesticides. Larger production units have the scale to be able to invest in bulk compost handling equipment, which avoids the need to use plastic bags. In addition, larger units can afford to employ dedicated quality and disease control specialists. Over the past 10 to 15 years, the Irish soft fruit production sector has also undergone a significant change, shifting from open field production to production under protective structures. This has allowed growers to exert some degree of control over the greatest variable, which is weather. This change has improved the quality of output and reduces the need for pesticides, while at the same time increasing growers' ability to use biological pest control within their crops. This shift in production methods has also significantly lengthened the Irish production season, and the Irish fruit can now compete confidently against exported products for most of the year. And this certainly is a very, very welcome development. And I have seen this, the length and breadth of the country that these activities are carried out in. Organic food production and processing is an area showing steady growth, both here at home and in countries which already send most of our conventional products. It is obvious that Ireland is almost uniquely suitable for organic farming. Ireland's extensive, low-input, grass-based production system are the foundation of its green credentials, which portrays a positive, clean, green image of Ireland abroad. Current trends in relation to production and consumption of food in this country indicates that we have an increasing health-conscious consumer who also demands quality, convenience and value. As the majority of our organic products sold in Ireland is imported, it is clear that there is huge opportunity for producers to fill this gap. I know consumers like to show where the food they buy is produced, and their preference is general in many Irish products. So that's an area that I believe there's huge opportunities for growth over the next number of years. And in my ministry, it's one of the things that I would actually dearly like to see happening. Locally produced organic food should have an extra appeal to consumers. With the growth in direct selling, farm shops, boxer schemes and farmers market, there is an outlet there for organic producers and processors to market their produce locally. The development of these direct routes to market is important, but we must also recognise the opportunity that exists in the export markets. And on that point, I would like to acknowledge here, I'm delighted to see Trevor Sargent here, who was very involved in the whole farmers market. Indeed, in his time in the department, certainly pushed it. So I'm pleased to see you here with us again, Trevor, and looking forward to a chat with you later on. I do not believe that the present economic difficulties will stop the growth of the market for organic products, though it may slow down a little for a while. These opportunities are still there. Certainly some consumers will look for cheaper food, but all the indications are that others are seeking out quality products for cooking and eating at home. And that is, I believe, very, very significant. I see it on a daily basis, even in my own constituency, right across the country indeed, where people want the good quality food, and they certainly want to cook it at home. I believe that the growth in demand for and consumption of organic food has been clearly established now. In order to reap the benefits of the current trend in relation to consumption of organic food, the potential market opportunity, both at home and abroad, must be fully exploited. While it is my department's job to foster and promote all kinds of farming and food production, equally, we do recognise the organic sector for what it is, a viable and totally sustainable production system that offers real opportunities to farmers, the food sector, and real benefits for the economy and indeed export substitution. I acknowledge that there are many challenges that lie ahead that we must face. Our response to these challenges, indeed the future competitiveness of the Irish agri-food sector, will be based on achieving efficiencies and exploiting knowledge base across the entire production and processing chain. The opportunities in the whole sector are immense, but one of the ways and one of the things what we did in the Celtic Tiger years was we forgot about agriculture and food production. Now we know, as we come out of these difficulties that this country, and indeed, can I say, they have been huge and very hard, and particularly at government level, to try and make hard decisions and bring our economy back onto a proper and sound footing. The old ways, agriculture, food production, tourism, are the ways that will lift this economy. We have it in abundance. When I even travel across the world, I was amazed in Germany some months ago when I was over at the dairy, as a guest of the dairy board, celebrating 40 years of Kerrygold butter. The German housewives, what they thought and saw of Ireland's greenness, that we have it in abundance. We have stolen that market of the greenness, the real quality food. Let's build on it and work on it together to create employment for all the many young people that want to work in this wonderful country of ours. I'm delighted and honoured to be here with you this morning and wish you success. Thank you very much.